Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan for another Inside the Birds playoff edition. But this one's going to be a different kind of playoff edition than the ones that we have done in the past, Adam, because as we sit here and talk about the Eagles right now, I can't ever remember a time where the focus is not on the playoffs, but more on a team that just can't get out of its own way. Like, this team looks like a bottom 5 team right now, and we're talking about the playoffs. They can't do anything right. I've spent a lot of time the last few days, and I know you have too, and we'll go through it, just talking to different people who are either, in the organization, around the organization, know the organization, not affiliated with the organization. I've had a lot of people look at certain clips that I wanted to show them from the game, and universally, nobody can understand what the hell the Eagles are doing. Like, what they're trying
defensively,
offensively and defensively.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the way they try to attack the blitz schemes or protect themselves against the blitz made no sense either. So this is not. It's one thing not to be playing your best football going into the playoffs. That's we've seen before. It's another thing to be playing terrible football going into the playoffs, and that's what the Eagles are doing right now.
Sure. But ideally, you like to be playing your best football. It's sort of a misnomer because we've seen plenty of teams not be playing well and
Right.
run through the playoffs. But as you just said, and I agree, they're so bad right now. We have no idea what we're going to get Monday night. Literally nothing. Nobody has any idea. Okay, that's the first thing. There are so many problems with this team right now. I mean, we have some great stuff which we're going to have on Friday morning when we preview the show. That's with some of the tape study that we've gotten from people and some people who we didn't know we'd be talking to this week, but we have. I clued you in on some of the stuff we got, which is phenomenal. But we'll give you a couple nuggets here as the show goes along. But they don't do anything right, as I told you, other than special teams. I told you in play on our post game show. I can't see anything they do well on offense or defense that you can hang your hat on. That's what coaches talk about. What they'll say, okay, what do we do well? Okay, what don't we do well? And let's correct and fix and rebuild the stuff we don't do well and accentuate the stuff we do well. Well, when you look at this Eagles team, I don't know if they do anything particularly well. Yeah, they at times this season they pass the ball well, but their offense is inconsistent, be kind. I don't call this a good offense. I don't care what the rank would say for the season. It's irrelevant right now. It's about what you're playing by quarters and out of the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've had a very favorable schedule, to say the least. Maybe the most favorable of any team in the National Football League after that gauntlet of the hardest schedule. I just want to feel good if I'm an Eagles fan or an observer of the team that, okay, I'm seeing some good things. I feel good about this. Okay, this stuff is not good defense. But offensively, when you can't protect and you know it's coming and you still can't protect, they've always handled wing pretty well. I don't know what the hell happened in that game. I don't want to hear it about they didn't take it seriously. Whatever. It's such BS. How do you, when you know it's coming and you can't stop it, you got to ask yourself some questions. What are we doing?
Well, I think you just hit it on the head. You and I mean, like, we never played the game. We understand it pretty well. When you and I go to people who either played or coached or in front office positions and they see it and they say the same thing, like that they just don't understand what they're seeing.
Yes.
That's when you know you've got a real issue. There's 2 things I don't like right now. I don't like the messaging also coming out of the NovaCare complex. We'll get into that, some of the things that people are saying. And I certainly don't like, it's not just what I'm seeing on the field, but it's almost why I'm seeing it that makes me very, very concerned, obviously, about a Tampa Bay team that's not very good. But as you just mentioned, they have a very good defense. They have good defensive personnel, and they do a lot of things similarly to what the Giants do, which is A, blitzing a lot. We'll talk about it. And B, blitzing out of zone looks, which really gave the Eagles some issues here. So a whole lot to unpack. It's going to be a great week this week on ITV. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a fantastic week. Now, everybody's got to wait for Q&A a little bit. It'll be out sometime soon. Jason, as we all know, was in Houston because he is the sideline voice of Michigan football radio. So he's still wallowing in the wonderful glory Did you watch any of that game, Adam? I know you're not a
Yeah, I
huge.
watched plenty, and then I fell asleep because it was over. I mean, Michigan handled it. You know, that they were
Yeah,
up the whole
yeah.
game. It
I
was
don't
a
know. You might not have seen the Harbaugh interview afterward, but the confetti is falling all over him. And the woman asks him, like about the moment. And Harbaugh, and this only Jim Harbaugh says something like this. He
super
says,
guy.
"What a great Michigan story! Even in this confetti falling, these thousands of pieces of confetti, there's a story in every one." And I'm watching TV. I go, "You just won a national. You're a leader of men. You just said there's a story in each piece of confetti." But either way, Jason's very excited. And once he gets back, there are all the storms in the area and everything. Once he gets back, he and Q&A will do their show. And I know just from talking to him already that they have so much to break down. Same thing with Greg Cosell and Clay Harbor. They'll do Inside the Tape. That'll be out Thursday as it ordinarily is. And Adam, props to Derek Gunn. He hasn't been able to do a gun on one in a few weeks. We know about his wife and everything. He's taking care of her and all that. Well, he got a great interview arranged with Jeremiah Trotter.
Oh, Trot.
That is going to be the final gun on one of the year. And Trot. Well, imagine what Trot must be feeling right now watching this Eagles team, these Eagles linebackers. They're going to get into that. Plus his son, Adam, Jeremiah Jr. is going to be a draft pick, maybe even a second round pick. We'll see, maybe a first coming up in the NFL draft. And obviously, if people don't know, Jeremiah Trotter lost his wife recently. And he's also been doing a lot of community service down in the Dominican Republic, like building housing complexes there, I believe. So it's going to be a really nice and powerful interview with Jeremiah Trotter.
Yeah, Trot and I worked together for the Eagles with that's 2012 maybe, 2013, like that. Yeah, he's just a wonderful guy. Got to know him a little bit then. We all follow his career. So number 54, the Axeman. Looking forward to hearing that.
Been a long time since we've seen someone like that at linebacker for the Eagles.
we
may never see it again for as long as you and I are alive.
Yeah. Old school, and you have to remember, Geoff, you weren't covering the team then. There were issues with his knees. And that was a concern. But man, what a player! Heart and soul, tough guy, smart, diagnose plays, tackle, big. This is exactly what you wanted in old school middle linebacker. All those 54 jerseys, I could still see it, man. I mean, it's just there's some stuff you don't forget growing up here about certain players and their numbers or the way their style of play. Like obviously Seth Jordan, number 59, our guy.
Yeah.
But Trot was something else.
He certainly was. All right. And one last note in 1 second, I want to remind everybody that Inside the Birds is presented by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It's the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. Now, Inside the Birds pre-game live. There's at least one more. Can't wait. Hopefully more for our sake, right? But at least one more. It's a Monday night game, which you and I talked about. You wanted it. I did not. Well, you wanted it over a Sunday game, right? I think
Sunday screws me up.
Sunday's tough. I get it.
I don't want to be a Sunday night game. That would absolutely. I got to write Sunday night. It just doesn't work for me. But I get it. So
yeah.
Monday night is a little tougher for some people because obviously it's during the week, and the game's at 8, so people got to stay up. Yeah, it's a challenge. I get it.
Yeah. Sometimes we look at these things selfishly and not about the fan. I didn't want Monday night either, but that's what we got. So Inside the Birds pregame live, 5:00 p.m. Monday. Myself, Adam, Greg Cosell, Jason Avant, and I guarantee you we will break that game down from A to Z, every single angle. There will not be a stone unturned in this great matchup between the Eagles, Bucs, the 4-5 matchup with the Eagles as the 5, amazingly, and the Bucs as the 4. All right, on Patreon platform, we got a lot coming this week. We do have our Ask ITB live stream that we've been doing weekly now. We're going to do that tonight, Wednesday night, 8:00 is when we're going to be doing it. We had fantastic participation in the last one. And then after this Giants game, I imagine even more people are going to be jumping on in and getting their voice heard. And, what was the term that our friend Kevin used about players who are paid millions of dollars to carry an inflatable piece of pigskin?
Yeah,
something like that.
Watching, I know he was absolutely awesome. I said he's professional in his criticism.
He was.
He's so eloquent. It was really good. And Judy, who we met for the first time, and I know she was ready, sending questions for our friend John T. Filippo, who John though he is a Memphis USFL head coach, Showboats where Reggie White played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went to the Eagles. John is still going to come on. He said, "Hey, you need me?" I'm like, "We need you, man." So John will be on. We're taping the interview today. So get your questions in if you remember. We get to them. We people ask great questions, and we want to ask about hot routes.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
on my list of questions for John. I don't
Hot
understand.
routes and
Yeah.
blitz pickup are going to be some
Oh,
pretty important questions this week.
yeah. Anyway, so patreon.com/inside the bird if you want to become.
There you go. And then also during the playoffs, for every playoff game the Eagles play, during halftime, we're going to do a live stream for our followers and ask ITB live, or not even ask, like we're just chat. We're going to talk about the game at halftime for each one. So make sure you're, as Adam just said, a member at patreon.com/inside the birds. All right. We can go through the injuries, but obviously the key is with the game being a Monday night game, Adam, they are not even going to take the field for the first time in practice until Thursday or tomorrow. Unless Nick Sirianni feels like some changes have to be made and want to do things. I mean, they'll probably be in the building, but you will see what they do.
Yeah, but in terms of you wouldn't practice on a Wednesday morning. You just hit on it. You don't want to disturb. Coaches are very meticulous. Like you can bring him in on Wednesday to do more tape study for the game, but the practice week always from Monday is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday walkthrough. Then they'll fly to Tampa on Sunday afternoon, and they'll have meetings as they do. Clubs have meetings, personnel meetings Sunday night. They'll decide who the inactives will be. And boy, oh boy, that Saturday walkthrough will be interesting because if you remember, that's when that is when Zach Cunningham 3 weeks ago after the Saturday walkthrough, his knee wasn't right. They downgraded.
Yeah, that's right. You're so right. They've had such, I don't call it bad luck, but they haven't had nearly as good of fortune this year with the injuries as they had last year. But you know what? Some of that goes back to you have a much older roster that you've been having over the last few years. So it probably shouldn't surprise you when players who have injury histories are getting injured.
By the
So,
way,
yeah.
all 22 starters who start against Detroit week 1 start in the Super Bowl.
Amazing, right?
You need to know about injuries. Yeah, they had, that's part of, you talk about the Super Bowl hangover. That's in the top 5. And some people only think it's number 1. It's definitely in the top 3.
Right.
It's just if you don't have if you lose players, it's really hard. And by the way, the depth of this football team, which we'll get into probably more on Friday, it's not great. It's probably not as good as we thought it was.
No, definitely not, especially on defense. I will give props to Jalen Hurts. His injury is we have to monitor. The finger looked like a dislocation when he suffered it. It's apparently not broken. So that's a good news, and we'll see. Clay Harbor in the post-game show,
but it's just I don't know how he's going to do it.
right? Clay Harbor in the post-game show said it's basically about how well you can grip the football at that point. And so, what did Nick Sirianni say? That he came back in and he was ripping it, apparently. So we'll see. That's a big one. But we have to give props to Jalen, Adam. I saw the stat. Only I think 8 starting quarterbacks this year started all 17 games, and who would have thought, right? Jalen Hurts, and Tua Tagovailoa are 2 of them, and those guys have been, just beat up not only this year, but they missed games in each of the last 2 years. So props to Jalen Hurts. We know he's played through several injuries, and it looks like he's going to have to play through something with his finger against the Bucs on Monday night. And what do you think about AJ Brown?
I believe he'll play. I have no idea how limited he'll be because again, he couldn't come back. It wouldn't have mattered if the game was the Super Bowl. I don't think he was coming back in that game. It obviously looked bad, but yeah. I watched the video of it like 4 times. Now we don't know exactly what it's a right knee injury. We know that. We don't know if it's an MCL or did he just hyperextend? We don't know exactly what it is, but the early word is he should be able to play. But what I've learned with injuries, particularly this team, nothing's a guarantee. Devontae Smith, he didn't practice last week. All indications are that he'll be able to play. We don't know, as we speak here Wednesday morning, we don't know enough about the eye injury, Cam Jurgens, so I'm not going to comment on it unless you have anything.
Right.
About it. Darius Slay, it's always been our understanding, and others too, that he's going to play. But the only question I have is why did he not work last Friday? Did they back off because they saw enough, knowing he wouldn't play anyway on that turf? I can't answer that. I wish the media would ask Sirianni that. Was it just being cautious?
You know what? Now that I think about it, I wonder what the weather was like Friday, if they were in the bubble or on the field. Because if they were in the bubble, it would make sense with his knee to not
Yeah,
practice on that. I have to go back
correct.
and
Oh,
check that out.
absolutely. You don't
Yeah.
want to that hard turn
No, you want none of that.
worst. Re-Blankenship, day to day with a groin injury. We'll see what happens in practice. Now, as I was telling Mike Gill on football at 4 on Tuesday, cover this business almost 25 years. Guys who are limited in practice during the regular season, you never know if they're going to play. If you're limited in the playoffs, 95 out of 100 will play because they know they want to be out there. In fact, players will push, even if the doc says, it'd be great if you'd wait a week. They'll push they almost always play if they're limited. It's completely different. In regular season, there's no rhyme or reason with limited players. In the playoffs, they almost play. So we'll learn more about Blankenship's injury tomorrow. And City Brown, everybody knows, towards ACL. Such a shame. And folks, I don't. If some reason Blankenship can't play, I mean, it would be Byard and Tristan.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about depth, and let's just talk about what these injuries might mean in general, even if a lot of these guys play. Before we do that, I just want to pause to hear a word from our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Okay, so let's talk about defense. This is clearly their weakest side of the ball. I know it's hard to tell lately because they're both equally bad, but defense is clearly their weakest side of the ball right now. Back end is clearly the weakest part of the defense. You just brought it up. If Blankenship plays, right, you have a safety who's playing through a groin, may not be 100%. So that already takes you down a little bit. But you have, for a team that's been playing a lot of big nickel lately with Blankenship, Byard, and Sidney Brown being out for the year leaves them with really two safeties that they can trust. That would be Byard and Blankenship. So let's say, like you were just talking about, Blankenship plays. Well, now you have to take out a core part of your defense. You can't, I can't imagine they're going to play big nickel and throw Tristan McCollum out there, Adam, in a playoff game, playing a ton of snaps because the guy just played his first 29 snaps of his career last week in relief. The Eagles have no depth at this position. They haven't had depth in a while. And yet no moves have been made to try to either sign a veteran. Is there no veteran out there to be signed? You see the Miami Dolphins with all their edge rushers signing guys like Melvin Ingram, signing guys like they just signed who is it? Justin Houston?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Maybe those guys can't play anymore, but like at least they played in the league and have experience. What are the Eagles to do if they get another injury at safety? How do you not have reinforcements at this spot?
Here's why. Well, I'm not absolving them of this. They should have signed a veteran safety weeks ago for the practice squad.
Yeah.
Well, they do it. Garner's played safety. Josiah Scott can play it. I didn't say it's ideal. Let me make that clear. I didn't say it was ideal. And we got the workout list. They didn't work anyone out Tuesday. Maybe they just think that, okay, so let's say, for instance, Blankenship's going to play, right? It's Byard and Blankenship and McCollum, who got some good reps in the second half. McCollum is a practice player. I know it's hard to sign someone now and have them play.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I don't know why they didn't sign anyone weeks ago for the practice squad. As you said, you could just sign a veteran street free agent, put them in your system, let them learn. Of course, the running joke is with some personal people we spoke with this week, they don't know what system they're trying to run.
I don't mean to be funny with this. Isn't Kevon Wallace on the street? Like he's not with the Cardinals anymore, right?
No, he was
IR.
Titans was starting for the Titans.
Oh, that's right. He was starting for the okay. All right. So I think well, it's crazy.
They have both Wallace and Terrell Edmonds.
That's right. I can't believe that that this is where the Eagles are at, and two of their safeties are now out of the playoffs, and they're not even doing it. It's really ridiculous. And I will say it does speak to Tristan McCollum. I guess it speaks to McCollum's development that he was the guy who was elevated, and not Josiah Scott, because Josiah Scott has more experience. He even played more this year when they signed him for that one game, but McCollum got the call. I maybe it's that they see Josiah Scott only as a nickel, whereas they see McCollum as a safety. I don't know, but I think you're right. It's they should have done something about this weeks ago. Too late now. So
good luck to him. Yeah,
yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I'm not absolving Matt Patricia. We don't throw things at people. It's not been going well for the Beard Wonder, but man, get him some players. It's just I don't know. I laughed at a veteran personnel guy from another team that said to me, he goes, "What the hell? What are they running?" Because this is not what they were running earlier this season. It's what they trying to do. It's like, you tell me. That's why I talked to you.
Right. Like when they're asking us the questions, the Eagles are doing some crazy ass stuff right there.
I was laughing because you and I have had a bunch of conversations. We exchanging information.
Right.
And I'm listening to you and laughing. I'm like, what do you talk? I never ask you who you talk. I know you talk to some pro guys with other teams and scouts and whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm laughing with the detail you have. I'm like, Mike, that is like not good. What the hell?
No, it's crazy. Anyway. All right. So, and then just to finish this off, Adam, on the offensive side, I think you and I would both agree that if the Eagles want to do anything in the playoffs, including beating Tampa and their defense, the offense is going to have to carry the team and score points. But now you've got your quarterback, your star wide receiver, and even your second best wide receiver, Devontae Smith, with the ankle, all right now, as we record this, not 100%. Maybe things really improve for them. I don't know. But the point is, this is really perilous going into the Monday night game. I get that it's helpful to have the extra day and maybe these guys can get a lot better, but that's just not really good.
I don't know what to see. I said it to Mike Gill. I said weeks ago, this offense can no longer carry the defense.
Right.
Because it's so inconsistent. We'll do a deeper dive in the offseason about the scheme and what it should look like. But I'm just telling you, when you take these guys who are hurt, okay, we don't know what percentage they'll play at. Will be 60, 70, 80. We have no idea. But their offense has just been so wildly inconsistent. You don't know what you're getting. Yeah, is it above average? Of course it is, but it's not anywhere as elite. It's not elite. It's nowhere to the level of last year. So yeah, I'm on full board with that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, you just don't know what you're getting. Yeah, the Bucs defense is not as good as probably anyone thought it would be. It's getting better because it's getting healthier. We'll talk about that before we get out of here. But it's not going to be easy. Pass protection, we'll get into that in a second, our final words from the last game that we've learned. But I'd like to at least hang my hat on knowing what we're going to get from this team. That's what makes it so difficult. Like, here's another thing. How the hell are the Eagles now? It went from 2.5 to 3, which means it tells you that the money's on the Eagles. So the lines makers had to move the line to get money on the other. What makes them even a favorite? Could you explain that?
I think I was just about to counter. Should they even be considered a favorite? I mean, I think it's a fair question, right?
No,
oh my God.
I know that they've been America's team with the lines makers, as the Chiefs were, until the lines makers got wide. So the Chiefs aren't really as good as they thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
This team is not. What are they doing?
That is a great question. I do not know.
It's a different team now. The Eagles are like, that game could have been played in 2019 as far as I'm concerned. The one where they beat them in week 3. They're completely different.
I feel like the people in Vegas are just like us. Like, they're like, there's just no way that this can continue. This team just has too much talent to play like this week after week.
They're not as talented though. They're not.
I think they are on offense. Yeah,
offense they are, but they're beat up.
Their coaching is killing them. I really believe.
Whatever you can call it, whatever you want. Guys aren't performing. Quarterback obviously progressed a little bit.
Yep.
What's happened to AJ Brown? Mike Gill asked me. That's a great question. I can't explain what's happened to AJ Brown in the second half.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave the injury to just said. I don't understand it. It's like Stephon Diggs, right? He's been on the downward spiral for 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think he's slowed down at 30. I don't know, but this has puzzled me. The regression on some areas you can understand defensively because the regression. I mean, the roster's clearly not as good. We knew this before the season started. Certain things we've not seen anymore. It's total chaos in defense, but offensively, as you were alluding to, they still should be pretty good. They should be better than they are, and they're not.
Oh man, I mean, honestly, they should be a great offense with all the
Right.
talent that they have. The fact that they are not is inexplicable and inexcusable at this point. All right, that brings us to getting a look and sort of dishing the intel that we've gotten on the game against the Giants, which, you know, it's hard to believe it really happened, but it definitely happened. We'll get to that in a second. First, I mean, we are getting killed and slammed by storms. It's like every other day we get these awful storms, and I hope everybody survived the one last night because it was bad in my neck of the woods. I tell you that, with all the winds. But nobody goes out and does shopping when you get weather like this. So you're happy to have HelloFresh. You're happy to have these meals already arrived at your doorstep and in your freezer or in your refrigerator and ready to go. It's farm fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes that were delivered. So there's no wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. With HelloFresh, the shopping is already done. The perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. It doesn't get more efficient than that. Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. It's 25% less expensive than takeout, so you get a home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. Don't forget about taste and selection. There's chicken, there's steak, there's seafood, vegetarian meals. Great stuff. Whatever you want, they've got. HelloFresh.com/50Eagles is the place to go. Use the code 50Eagles, 50 Eagles, all one word, for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the promo code 50Eagles, 50 Eagles, all one word, for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit. All right. Something you said about this game, you know, that you question is why the Eagles didn't take it seriously. Obviously, Fletcher Cox didn't play. He could have if it was a playoff game, but it's not like they weren't trying to win either. I mean, they played almost every starter other than Fletch. I mean, my point is I don't want to like excuse this team and say, well, they weren't really out there trying hard to win. Like they got manhandled by a team that they should
Right.
have got
But
manhandled by.
what if you're going to rest Fletcher Cox? He's not hurt. He's fine. We've obviously played 100% of the game meant something. But my goodness gracious, you're taking it. You decide before the game starts he's not going to play. Okay. And then Swift had the illness that he wasn't feeling right Sunday morning. Okay, I get that. But and I know I've learned my lesson with players sometimes. They just say stuff and you know that sometimes they just go off of emotion. But what Dallas Goedert said had a lot of meaning to me. They've coasted. I know it's hard to quantify the stuff. It's sort of subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, if you didn't hear what Goddard said, he kind of basically said the last 5 weeks they didn't have the same mindset. The way I would sum it up, they just weren't in it. I don't. It just. Now, did AJ Brown's injury scare them? I can't answer that. Only they can. There's stuff we're never going to know because the players are playing the game. But if you're going to rest Cox, you're basically saying that okay, this game we probably think Washington's going to get blown out, although they were up 10-7, then they got blown out. But there's just something wrong with that. I was surprised that they did that. Now, did Nick answer that question? Did they ask him why Cox is rested?
You know what? I don't know that he was asked about Fletcher Cox. That's a great question.
Was an obvious question. That was one of the first questions I asked after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then they were getting smoked in the first half, so he pulled everyone. Okay, I'm one of the few people who didn't have a problem. I know a lot of people did. But I don't think when you're a bad football team, which they are right now, they're playing poorly. We all know this. It's not a secret. I think my mom, who's 94, okay? She was asking me, how are the Eagles doing? I'm like, not so well. Okay.
We can both. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, we all know they're playing poorly right now. So why would you not want to go in? It's not even about scoring 30 points. Just feel good about yourself. Doesn't that matter?
It does. But I think you and I can both agree that if they play Fletcher Cox and he plays like Fletcher Cox, they're still getting killed in that game, right? Like the amount of wide open receivers that would have neutralized any Fletcher Cox pass rush. You know, they didn't do terrible against the run either. So I don't think that Fletcher Cox was going to make a huge difference, to be honest.
No, but it's not about winning or losing.
No, I get your point on the mindset, and I heard what Dallas Goedert said, and I found that a little troubling, but I also think he might have been so, when players lose like this and don't know why, they sort of grasp at straws, or they say, like, I don't think he was trying to say we weren't taking the game seriously. I think he was trying to look for reasons subconsciously, right, why they're not playing well. And maybe he I almost thought he was spontaneous spitballing, like, hey, we clinched the playoffs and maybe we just shifted into cruise control and didn't realize it, and now we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'll give you another example. So I talked to a player in the locker room in 2018 when they I can't remember, I have the schedule, but they were not playing well. And the guy said, veteran player said to me, he goes, "We have entitlement. We just think we could show up, and just because we were this great team last year." And he goes, "You can't do that."
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of taken aback. I was like, "This is great. It's just a great thought." I learned a lot about what he was saying. I listened to the guy talk for 10 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I followed up. I said, "Hey, well, is it something that you just noticed?" He goes, "No, I've seen it for several weeks." Okay. So, I learned something there with entitlement. That's
Yeah.
another part of the Super Bowl hangover, when you think you could just show up. Obviously they had injuries in that year, but the bottom line is, it's again, you can't quantify it, but it's just a bad look when you're really playing poorly overall. You're looking to feel positive about yourself. Now let me follow up before we move on to the offense defense and get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Sirianni made it look like they could just flush it all out and turn it off, and the regular season's behind them? It is technically. But what happened then doesn't, it's almost like it doesn't matter. Oh, it happened, but it doesn't really matter. I know he didn't say that exactly, but I felt, listening to his press conference, watching it, he's almost defiant, like, okay, that happened, we hear you, but I don't care about that. No. Okay, fine. But I don't know if you could shut it off and on based on how poorly.
So my sense, and obviously we couldn't know unless we were in his head, right? My sense is Nick Sirianni is struggling mightily for answers here, and does not exactly know what to say. Like, he's not going to sit here and say, "You guys are right, we suck, and there's nothing I can do about it." He's basically saying, "I made bad calls," which is, I agree with, specifically when he was asked about why they were not prepared for the blitz. I think they did bad. Now, I don't think they went in all week last week and said, "We don't think Wink Martindale is going to blitz," right? I don't think that that's the case. I just think that for actually a couple of years now, we've been talking about when things aren't right against blitzing, it's because there's not the outlets that you would expect. It's not always pickup or protection. We know that when you face Wink Martindale, he knows how to break down your protection scheme, know how good it is. So what you have to be prepared for is that free rusher, which the Giants got a lot of. And it feels to me like their response to that is just making Jalen go make the play, run away from it, run out of it, do something special, instead of just giving him some better options. I don't know if that's the case, but when you watch it on tape, right, that's what it looks like. And I think this has been a big struggle for him. So here's what somebody who watches the Eagles tape and is familiar with them has said to me. He feels like, and a lot of coaches fall into this, right? It's not a trap, just who they are. Nick Sirianni has a scheme and a system. When it's good, it works. When it doesn't work, it's easy to say, "Well, here's where the breakdown. We'll just work on getting better." But when you're having a systemic issue, the way the Eagles are having this year, and it's getting worse, that's still your system. If you can't change up, and we talked about more motion, going under, trying to add something new to your look. When you don't do that, when you are married to your system, is when you get in trouble. And one set of eyes who's looked at the Eagles says to me, it seems like Nick Sirianni is married to his system. And now that it's not working, he doesn't know how to marry himself to a different kind of way.
Not before Act 2. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. He doesn't have Act 2 right now. He's not going to be able to get to the offseason. So,
right.
The hot route thing is a major issue. It's based on what you just said. And looking at my notes, one person said they do not ID blitzers very well. They're struggling with that. Their technique was poor. IDing blitzers is for the running. Obviously, Gainwell is very good at it, but they were not sure where guys were coming from sometimes, and it made what you were talking about. It made the quarterback, in this case, Hurts, before Mariota took over. Because you don't have those dump offs built in. We know Hurts doesn't like doing it anyway. It puts undue pressure on the quarterback to run around and make a play. That's not the way quarterbacks should be coached.
Right.
The ID blitzing thing is a problem in this game. We'll have more on that on our Friday show. We've got a couple new terms we learned this week, which one was never familiar with. I played league game so much.
Right.
But bottom line is, this is embarrassing. They've never had this kind of problem with the former Giants defense coordinator with Martindale.
Right.
But bottom line is this cannot happen. And you just talked about it. Todd Bowles and Wink are crazy with the blitz. And wait, Diaby, who's really good, we're going to talk more about Friday. And the front. And, by the way, in the first matchup, Kalijah Cansey didn't play.
Right.
Diaby was a non-factor. Vita Vea played in that game.
Mike Evans dropped 1,000 passes.
Who was that?
Mike Evans on offense dropped 100 passes.
Vita Vea played, but he played hurt. Then he missed some time.
Right.
And Devin White, who got benched, is now playing. They got to get themselves together. I understand that Sirianni wants to throw everything out and start anew. Good luck. Let's see if you can do it. We'll learn a lot about that Monday night if that could actually be possible.
Yeah, we will. So let's switch before we move on. I do want to talk about the defense a little bit because I told you I don't like some of the messaging coming out of the NovaCare because some of it I think is a little bit of an insult to the intelligence. Nick Sirianni said in his last press conference, he was asked about going to Patricia, why that hasn't worked. Are they trying to do things radically different now? And he said, we're not doing things all that differently. He's like, yes, we have a new play caller. We're not doing a ton of things different. And he went into how it's really hard to switch up what you do in the middle of a season. So we're trying not to be different. And honestly, I don't know what his definition of doing things differently is, but like when you see Josh Sweat being used, dropping into coverage, when you see Hassan Reddick being used way more as, well, not way more, but way more than he used to be as an off-ball linebacker, like starting off as an off-ball linebacker in coverage, right? When you see the amount of different packages that they're playing, which I think is an issue for them right now, Adam, that is a major, major difference. You're asking Josh Sweat to do something that he didn't practice in OTAs, training camp for the first 10 weeks of the season, and you're saying that's not different? Because that one of the first big plays that the Giants struck easily was a 33-yard over the middle pass to Wan'Dale Robinson, who's wide open because the Eagles are running what's called a Mike Fire blitz. They're blitzing Kevin Byard, right? And they're dropping Sweat. And the problem is that Sweat was supposed to drop on the number 3, 3 to the left side. But he follows the 3 all the way because the 3 and the 2 of the Giants, they run across each other. So Sweat kind of treats it like man. He keeps going. And Avonte Maddox is supposed to cover the 2, not Sweat. So they both wind up, how many times have we said this? They both wind up covering the same guy. And then you get Wan'Dale Robinson wide open across the middle, which, by the way, you're blitzing your safety Byard. So there's nobody literally there out of a 5-man front. So there's nobody there to even, if you did that out of a 4-2 front, maybe you at least have a second level defender to help you. But they're doing stuff that we never saw them do before.
By the way,
they're all confused.
Reddick made a mistake.
Yeah. First play of the game, he abandoned his zone to go chase down Tyrod Taylor and left. I think it was Wan'Dale Robinson over.
Yeah, he had a specific assignment. I can't speak for Hassan. You're not supposed to do what he did.
Right.
Someone from another team told me that, who graded the tape for us and sent me like 5 minutes of notes. And this was the first thing I saw. He goes, this is not the way he explained to me so I could understand it. What's supposed to happen on that play?
Right.
Oh God. See, here's the thing. And let's put what Nick said aside. I'm not interested in it anymore. You and I know what happened. You and I know what's been happening. They're not running the same scheme that they would. They've adjusted a lot. There's no way to put a percentage on it.
Right.
The guys are struggling. They're trying. They're trying, but they're being asked to do too much. And we'll talk to Jason about this. I'm interested to see what Clay talks about this with Greg. I can't wait to hear what Q&A say. When you're asking players to do something they haven't done, what you just talked about, or they certainly haven't done it. A lot of these guys because they weren't doing it in OTAs. Because Patricia wants to put his own spin on it. We'll talk more about that on Friday's show and on the pregame show, like he did in New England with Josh McDaniels. another story. But you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Like, here's the other part, okay, before we move on. Because a lot of us, and I agree with this, I would like to see the blitz more. He's asked to do so many different things. I don't know if they can handle it. It's just too much right now.
That is 100% my point. I am not going to be the guy who rips Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick for not understanding the rules of zone drops. When have they ever had to do that? Right? There are pass rushers who occasionally, under Desai or Gannon, they might do a very simple drop. Like Quentin Michael was telling me every once in a while, Trent Cole would be asked to drop when you do what you call a zone pressure, where you're just dropping and you're just trying to prevent that pass across the middle. They're asking Sweat to cover the number 2 in a zone on a fire zone. I mean, come on. That's crazy. And by the way, like, that's the thing that people that we talk to are like, why would they? This is almost common sense. Why would the Eagles ask their personnel to do this when they're clearly not schooled in doing it? That makes zero sense.
I understand when you zone drop, see what Patricia does when you're running his philosophy of the New England system. You're trying to confuse the quarterback, and then your passers will get home. When New England's defense was elite, it was actually pretty good this year, despite some issues they had in personnel. New England was actually pretty respectable. But when they were an elite defense, some years when Matt was running their defense, you didn't have to have great pass rushers because they would make the quarterback home with the ball so long, the guys would get home. But these guys, as you were talking about very well, these guys aren't used to what he's asked them to do. You can't do this stuff. We're not former coaches or personnel people, so we can't. There's only so much we can know by what people are telling us. But you and I have exchanged notes. Everyone agrees what they're asking the Eagles to do, the defensive players to do, is not working. And I'm going to clean up some of the curse words that we've got.
Well, that's so funny you said that. I had one person who I asked for their insight, Adam, right? I get a call and he's explaining to me what he's watching on tape. And it's almost like the Charlie Brown, like I had to hold the phone to hear. It was like, rah, 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 rah. It's like, whoa, calm down. And this guy's got no horse in the race. He's like, why would you do that?
The reason why we like to talk to people from other teams, whoever it could be, is when it's not their own tape, they're happy to tell you. It's really funny. Like hey, want to know about this? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right. Well, you know what stinks right now worse than the Eagles' defensive scheme is trying to find good tickets online. That's why you need Game Time, the fast, easy way to buy tickets for sporting events, concerts, theater shows near you. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Right now, the Game Time app, you're just 2 taps away from tickets to see any of the local sports teams, concerts, comedy shows, whatever you want to see. The best part is Game Time offers event cancellation protection and even job loss protection. Game Time's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Their all-in prices show you the total upfront, and this is what people love, you get to see the view from your seat right there on the app. It's unbelievable. All right, you know exactly what you're getting when you get to checkout. Game Time's obsessed with helping you save money. Their zone deals let you pick the section, while Game Time picks the seats for the best savings. And then there's the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. And terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And Adam, no truth to the rumor that the Eagles are now a comedy act. No truth to the rumor. That is still considered a sporting event on the Game Time app.
Actually, yeah, it would be more like a one-act play at this point.
Oh, nice job.
But
go ahead.
But hey, look, they played them 2 years ago in Tampa, and that was obviously that was their first year, and I know some people, and I would agree with this, they probably overachieved 2 years ago. There were no expectations year one, but this roster on offense, as you were talking about earlier, I agree with you. It's pretty good offensively in terms of personnel.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm baffled because of what Patricia's doing is just not working, but I'm just baffled why this offense is not great like it should. That's
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. All right, quick preview of what's to come with Tampa. And again, we'll have this all covered on the Friday morning pod. We'll have it covered on the Monday Inside the Birds pregame live. And I'm guessing, I think we'll probably have a Monday morning pod that just gives last minute injury updates and matchup intel, which I know people really appreciate. So we'll get that going too. Adam, real quick, I have to thank some friends of mine, Nikki and Gina. They have a place in Washington Township in the Sewell section on Egg Harbor Road. It's called Brick. It's a grocery and sandwich shop, Italian market. They sent sandwiches to my house a couple of games ago. And I had a pork cheddar sandwich that I thought was about the best sandwich I had in a long, long time. So if you were in South Jersey or in Philly area and you like to come to South Jersey, you like really good Italian made sandwiches. And again, the pork cheddar was amazing. Go to Brick. It's 288 Egg Harbor Road in Sewell, New Jersey. Nikki, Gina, we thank you so much. And I'm not lying, man. That food was unbelievable. I think everybody should check it out. That's Brick. Obviously, playoff game, Monday night Bucs. We'll get into it more on Friday with our preview. And then Monday morning, we'll have our injuries and last minute intel for the game up. And then, of course, Monday night pregame show. But initial thoughts here. I mean, do the Eagles have to play like 100 times better, or do they just have to play better?
Yeah. They have to play a good, not great game. Bucs are a very average team, maybe a little bit above average. Real quickly here, Baker Mayfield has not played well the last 2 weeks. He had less than 50 yards in the first half against the Saints, had a huge second half, but they were so far behind they had no chance. He's playing with a ribs injury, and this is the reason why. But they're always capable if his ribs are better. You mentioned Mike Evans earlier in the show. With Godwin and this kick, Trey Palmer could flat out fly. Their offensive line is makeshift compared to last year, but it's getting better. They're so much healthier than they were against the Eagles in the Week 3 game on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So to sum it up, got to play a good game. They don't have to be elite. They don't have to play a great game, but they have to have a game where you go, hey, if they lose, if it's 24-23, they lose, but we all watch and go, you know what? They played a good game. Hey, Bucs were better. What are you going to do? But man, just play a respectable game. They've been so embarrassingly bad. I'm with everyone who says they have to be better, but that doesn't mean they will be better, because right now, folks, anyone who thinks they know what they're getting out of the Eagles is making it up. Nobody has any idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, and that includes the guys in the building.
I'm telling you, this is frustrating, man. I've always said this when we've done the show for 6 years. I get it, teams are going to win and lose. Could you just play? We hate bad football. We really do. Just give us a good game, will you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that might make people feel better, at least about Sirianni, if the Eagles lose a hard-fought game. But there will be no good feelings about a loss to the Buccaneers at all, overall, if that's where to happen. All right, like I said, we'll get more previews Friday, Monday morning, and then Monday evening with Inside the Birds pregame live. Going to be a great week of coverage here on the Inside the Birds platform. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com. and on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation.